Oklahoma offense or Iowa State defense? Who controls this game? We got Steve Merrill on the line from wagertalk.com. Steve joins us each and every week. If you've yet to catch the segments, they're not just here on the OU channel, but on the array of our channels here at the Voice of College Football. Steve joins us from wagertalk.com. Get on over there for the NFL, the World Series, and the NBA as well. Steve, of course, you made a play for us a couple weeks ago with taking Oklahoma and Kansas over 62. They scored 94. I find it interesting that Iowa State generally is scoring. They had a 10-9 game against Kansas State. They had a 14-11 game against Kansas. And so this is the battle of wills, and it looks like Vegas kind of just cut it right in the middle at 55.
Yeah, it's a good point, Mark. It's very tricky for the odds makers to put totals on these type of games. And what I always say, and we talked about this, by the way, first of all, I think the Tennessee-Kentucky game is very similar to this, as far as pace. Kentucky can't get into a shootout with a very good Tennessee offense. And we see this in some other games this week as well. We talked about it on the Ohio State channel. Penn State probably doesn't want to get into a shootout with Ohio State either. This is definitely a situation with Iowa State needs a slower game. They need more of a defensive game. Oklahoma has definitely had some defensive problems this year. I think back to that TCU loss. Halfway through that game at TCU, they'd given up 4 touchdowns of 62 yards or more. Now, Iowa State doesn't have that kind of explosive scoring ability, but it just shows how weak this Oklahoma defense has been at times this year. Another thing that's interesting about this game is both teams are coming off the bye week. And you would think, well, Oklahoma really needed that bye. Their season was tanking. But keep in mind, they did turn things around, as you mentioned, against Kansas with that high-scoring win. Maybe that was turning things around. Iowa State really needed the bye week. 4 tough losses in a row, competitive games. Every loss was by 7 or less. 3 of those 4 losses were by 3 or less. In fact, 3 in a row were. So I think the bye week came at the perfect time for Iowa State. And they're a live home dog. In fact, I think the wrong team is favored here. My math simulation, which plays 10,000 games, runs the computer model, has Iowa State winning by 5. So I think the wrong team is favored. Iowa State wins this game, and they actually win by margin, and I like the defensive home dog here.
We get Steve's exclusive under-the-radar selection each and every week at the Voice of College Football on Patreon. So go to Patreon, search MarkRogersTV, patreon.com, MarkRogersTV. Get Steve's under-the-radar selection exclusively there. He's 7-1 against the spread, and you can get the Discord link and talk college football all the time. Steve, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks, Mark.